Let us look at these recent developments in Nigerian political landscape, sequel to the Atiku, Obi, Jonathan, and the president himself, talking about Senator Tinubu. As we have it, Atiku have shared his plan to collect membership card of the ADC. And this is according to the Punch. Let me bring you the news before going to the proper conversation. He said 2027, Atiku delays ADC membership card collection amid rumored Jonathan comeback. He go further to say that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has put on hold his planned collection of the African Democratic Congress membership card amid growing speculation that former President Goodluck Jonathan may join the 2027 presidential race and is being courted by the ADC. Atiku, who recently resigned his membership of the People's Democratic Party after prolonged internal disputes, was scheduled to formalize his defection to the ADC with the collection of his membership card. The membership card would be presented to Atiku by ADC officials at his hometown of Jada in the Jada local government area of Adamawa State. However, Sunday Punch gathered that the ceremony, which was slated for Wednesday, August 6th, was postponed indefinitely without an official explanation from the former vice president's camp. This even as a chieftain of the ADC told Sunday Punch that the party had been holding discreet talks with Jonathan over a possible presidential run in 2027. But let me stop there. But the question here is, it is becoming very clear that Jonathan is already going to contest. But another angle to this is, there is another school of thought that believe that the man, the master strategist, the president, Senator Tinubu, is the one using Jonathan to destabilize the opposition. And there are so many arguments to this, but let me bring you a hint on this, because we understand that the way it is, currently, Jonathan wants to contest the truth. But look at what this tweet is talking about. It goes by the name of Took Mike. He said Jonathan is compromised. They are doing everything to stop Obi. He said, I pity Jonathan, a weakling of a man and very corrupt. Why are some Nigerians encouraging him to run? Is what I don't understand. You go further to say that, was Jonathan era not also corrupt? He said Nigerians and sense. Then he go further to say that Tinubu is using Jonathan. He can never ever win. He is being used as a pawn to destroy Obi. So you can see that there's a school of thought that believe that the man, the strategist, Tinubu himself, is the one using Jonathan to destabilize the opposition. However, another school of thought believe that the North want a candidate that can match the man, Tinubu himself. And that it is the North that actually want to draft a Jonathan into it. Do not forget that we have had instance where it is stated that a Jonathan have met with key stakeholders in the North in preparation for what we are seeing today. Do not forget that even before now, in the past, before even the policy of 2027 setting, we have already had a situation where the former governor of Kaduna State, talking about Madam Nasir El-Rufai, when he was going to consult with the Jonathan on political issues, his son, who was a known critic of Jonathan, was very vocal when he said that he sent message to Jonathan through the father, that the father should help him to apologize to Jonathan, that he was naive when he criticized Jonathan in the past. So looking at this, it got to show that the policy of trying to drag Jonathan into this didn't start today. It means the North have before now already perfected plans on how to drag Jonathan into this race. But the whole thing is getting tricky, because the way it is no longer certain about who might win the election. There's no longer straight win for anyone the way it is. Whether the president himself, whether Atiku himself, whether it will be, it is now skeptical. Nobody can, until all the alliance, coalition, all the issue crystallize. That is when it can be very clear who eventually will win the election. But one thing that is certain is that it is a certain turn. Another thing that is certain is that of all the aspirants, or rather will be aspirants, and eventually will be candidates, I will believe that Anobi stands out. Talking about his credential as someone who before now, of course, exemplified himself in the area of court of governance, in the area of prudent management of government resources. So I see him as someone who stands out. But again, looking at this issue critically, because some people have argued that the man, Jagaban, is not justified to play the Southern card. According to the school of thought, that the Jagaban himself was the architect of the fall of a Jonathan in 2015, when all the opposition political parties came together under APC. We understand that then we had the ACN, which of course came from the eyes of the current president, Senator Tinubu. We had the CPC of the then former president Muhammadu Buhari. We had the new PDP that brought in the likes of Amici and co. We have some other political parties that came aboard to form APC. So the argument of the school of thought is that Tinubu, who then spearheaded the coalition, the merger that formed APC, that saw Jonathan out of office, is not justified to play certain cards. Because currently some proponents of the president are saying it must be the South. I equally agree that it must be South, but the further argument is that it should not, Tinubu should not benefit from the Southern agenda. Hence, he was the one that spearheaded the removing of a co-Southerner as the president. However, it is, some people equally see it as politics. And they will tell you that in politics, there's no permanent friend, there's no permanent enemy. I think that was explain the reason Jonathan was seen very prominent in the presidential villa shortly after Tinubu won the election, according to INEC results. We could clearly see two of them in celebration mode, in spite of the fact that Jonathan was actually the one that suffered heavy defeat as a result of alliance, which the man Tinubu prominently featured. But the way it is, the politics of the North trying to take power, I think it's already hitting a brick wall, because it is becoming very evident that the man Atiku himself is not getting his feet anytime soon. Because even if you look at the ADC, which he have joined officially, though he is here to collect their membership card, you begin to wonder, seeing the likes of RFI still meeting and dialoguing with the likes of Obi, still meeting and finalizing issues with the former president Goodluck Jonathan. You got to show that the proponents of opposition party, the coalition having the power, may not be so much interested in Atiku getting that position. It means eventually the coalition may zero in on P2B or even a Jonathan. But for me, if you ask me, I go for P2B over and above any other consideration in the South. Because this is someone who have maintained consistently that as a people, we must move away from consumption to production. And we have all agreed that the bane of our problem is not productivity. We have all agreed that the mono economy we run currently is not sustainable, and it exposes our economy to volatility. Because currently, as a people, as a country, we are finding it difficult to meet our FS obligation, our dollar obligation, because of the mono economy we operate. And Obi is someone who have made it abundantly clear that if he gets into office, he's going to diversify the economy into agriculture. I think emphasis should be laid on that agriculture. Reason being that when our economy was based on agriculture, we had a very good economy. Back then, our currency was even having value more than the dollar. more than the pounds. That is like a very hard currency now. We had the era of groundnut pyramid, the era of cocoa, the era of palm oil, the era of rubber. So we were doing very good when our economy was based on agriculture. So we have a leader who is determined to return the economy to agriculture. I think it's the way to go. However, that is not to say that we are jettisoning the revenue that comes from oil. But the revenue that comes from agriculture is more sustainable, as we can clearly see from experience of previous time and now. So the politics is now whether the man Tinubu, whether the man P2B, whether the man Jonathan will be the one to have it. Because currently, the man Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is not in anywhere prominent in all of the issues. Because seeing that even the coalition he's spearheading, some of the proponents who are close to him are already negotiating and synergizing with certain aspirants, or rather will be aspirants. If a Jonathan Fulani, though currently a Jonathan have not come out to make any categorical statement, I understand that a Jonathan may not want to even run except he secures commitment from maybe Obi, maybe Atiku, that none of them is running, so that he's going to be a united front for the opposition. That is my thinking anyway. Because as a former president, you don't want to go into the election, get defeated, and get embarrassed. We understand that Obi maintains a very good relationship, a cordial relationship with Goodluck Jonathan. Because even under Goodluck Jonathan's administration, Obi featured prominently in that government. Currently, it is not known whether a Jonathan will accept to contest. But one thing is certain is that you cannot deny the fact that they are not wooing him. So the way it stands, both the PDP is wooing the man, Goodluck Jonathan. ADC is equally wooing him. Because as at that count, we are seeing the former governor of Jigawa State, talking about Sule Lamido, who came out clearly to say that the best option for PDP in 2027 is Jonathan. We have already seen other stewards of the party, is it Jerry Ghana and all of them, who have made it very clear that they have already reached out to a Jonathan, even an Obi. So you're going to say that in all of this, the North are not with Atiku. So the vote in the North will be polarized along different lines. Some will eventually go to Atiku, no doubt. Some will go to Obi himself. Some will go to a Jonathan. But one thing is certain, that if the opposition goes into the election as a fragmented opposition like we had in 2015, it is irrespective of the perception or rather the reality of the economic hardship. We may come back to sing the same song we sang in 2023 election. Because you come to think of it, the vote that gave the president, Senator Ahmed Tinubu victory, according to a result declared by INEC, is a minority vote. If you just oppose that vote with the vote of other political parties put together, talking about the Labour Party, the New Nigerian People's Party of Kwankwaso, and the PDP of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in that election. So their votes at numbers put together what and Tinubu had. So that is to say that if there is free, fair, and credible election, and the three major political parties, three major players come together, this time around 4 major players come together, it's going to be a Herculean task for the man Tinubu, who of course is seen as a master strategist. It's going to be a Herculean task for him to emerge victorious. Because the way it is, the major issue that is working against him has to do with the issue of election, the issue of inability of his government to address the hardship that comes with his policies of subsidy removal on gasoline and unification of efforts at the official window. So, except Tinubu's government is able to turn things around between now and 2026. when the politics of 2027 would have taken a proper shape. Anything short of that, of course, I must tell you that his position, or rather his going back to Aso Rock as the president, will be seriously threatened. There's no doubt about that. Because the North are making very clear, abundantly clear, that they are not going to vote for him in the face of the economic hardship. And apart from that, the North have accused him severally of marginalization, of lopsided appointments. Even though Buhari is the one that started it, and of course elevated to a very high level, but it looks as if the Tinubu have learned very fast from his master. But let us watch as all of this panned out. Meanwhile, I must say very big thank you for this.